Today we are doing which is so today I'm using a slightly new technique, which is that I am putting my pencils and pens behind my ear so that I don't have to keep scrabbling around looking for them. Once again, I have the chest cam. I'm thinking of getting like an actual proper chest harness, but the trouble is, like chest harnesses, they tend to be designed for extreme sports people, which means people who are physically fit. I am not that thing. I am the opposite of that thing. I'm quite portly, let's say. And as an end result of that, I'm not going to find a chest harness that fits. So at the moment, I'm still just left clipping this onto clothing. Maybe what I need to do is get some clothing which is less baggy, less stretchy, so it doesn't bounce as much as that. But you know what? Let's stick with it for now. So, opening as always. Today we are doing the 3/4 view of day 2. Little reminder of what day 2 looked like. Yeah. So, I realised since day 1 was... Oh, I've knocked the thing over there already. Since day 1 was intended to be... since day 2 was meant to be the opposite of day 1, I figured this one will be the opposite of day 3, in that it will face the opposite direction. So, my 3/4 view is going this way now. I'm not entirely sure how much the contrast on this shows up the initial lines that I draw, but I can see them very well, and hopefully they'll come out if I can maybe fiddle with the contrast or something. On the screen it doesn't look great, but then that's the screen, not the recording. And of course with this one we actually did go for the extra sort of chin height of the sort of same again. No, not the same again, or is it this? I did do same again. That's like a whole extra third there. That seems like too much extra height. But let's go with it. So for that, we have the line coming down the centre here. If that's the chin, and that comes up there, and that goes up there. Actually, that doesn't look too bad. That looks okay. Right, so now we have roughly the shape of a head. And this would now be the brow line. That would be the nose coming out this way. Mouth would go about here. I guess when you think about it, if you imagine a jaw would attach there, so the mouth would come along this line here. So I reckon the mouth will go approximately from there to there. That's our mouth line there. And the brow of this will come over here. We have the other brow of the other eye. Have the kind of the centre line there, and then coming back here we will have an ear. The top of the ear should line up with where the eye is going to go, which is going to be about here. I feel like I should round that off a little bit more. Yeah. So then, I kind of like what's happened here. This has sort of magically formed this kind of almost like a cheek line, but I don't think that this character had the same depth of cheek line, so we are trying to stick to the same style after all. And the bottom of the ear will reach the bottom of the nose. So I made a realization looking in the mirror yesterday that I'll point this at the mirror just to point this at the mirror. Yeah. So what I realized is that looking at my own face, at the very least, maybe I should overlay you know what? Trying to get it to point at that mirror for now is not a very good idea. Yeah, I can see myself there, sort of. I can't look at the screen and see my face at the same time. I assume that this can see me. So when I look at the distance from this part of my nose to this part of my mouth, I look at the distance from this part of my mouth to the bottom of my chin, it's roughly twice as long there as it is there. So this thing that I've been doing where I've been placing the mouth exactly halfway between the nose and the chin is probably slightly wrong. The chin needs a little bit more height. Because placing it too far down makes it look like there's this really sort of large lip and no chin. I think that's why I have these famously weak chins, is because I'm placing the mouth too low. That's my magic for today. That's my realization that I've come to. So now the question is, can I actually do anything to fix that problem? Because I've recognized that it's a problem. Can I fix the problem? And frankly, the answer is no. I have no idea how to fix that problem. Like all the problems in my life, it's something that I've just kind of, it's just a thing that I have. It's just I'm going to refer back to Septemberk 3. Yeah, I was really pleased with the ear that I did yesterday. I felt like the ear that I did yesterday had this very very dimensional kind of feeling to it. It had a kind of depth that I've not seen in a lot of my other images. I think it was partly because of the sort of this slight overlap area here. Oh, I just realised that's pointing too far down. It's partly because of this slight overlap that happens here with the shape of the ear. So I was quite pleased with that. The eyes, we gave them a more rounded shape. And that's how we sort of defined this. Now this eye once again butts up against this side of the face, and I feel like that's a thing that should be allowed. Like that should be a thing that the eyes can do. And so I'm going to let that happen. I'm going to actually allow that eye to touch that side of the head. I'm going to... Will that disappear behind the nose? If that disappears behind the nose, that's a much easier way to deal with that problem. I feel like once again the eyes are too close together. That was a problem that I had yesterday, which is the fact that the eyes are kind of here, and I've got this whole extra bit of head back here, but then there is a lot of head that isn't face. Maybe I should have done photo reference week for the first week rather than like the second and third weeks. I'm getting a lot better with the noses, I think. I'm very pleased with how I've come up with essentially a couple of shortcuts on how to do noses a little bit better. As a result, I feel like the noses are really doing better than they had been doing, which is good. I feel like that doesn't actually have to go anywhere. That can fade away into neck there. Not that any of this is going to be seen, because as we know, this ear actually gets covered up by the hair in the original picture, so I don't know why I spent all that effort, because this ear won't exist when I'm finished, because the hair's going to go over it. But I would like to re-examine the hair that I did. If we go back to the sort of, this is where hair will grow on the head, if left ungrown, like that's the, if you shave a person's head, that's roughly where it grows, right? You get this kind of cap bit on top, but of course you never see that part, because then what happens is that maybe that should actually be an arc like that. I don't know. No, it should come down. It should, because there's this little corner thing that maybe not everyone has that. I don't know. So we had the parting be on this side, which is going to be really difficult to show. But the parting here meant that the hair came kind of over like this. And we also had some that came and tucked behind the ear. Now, I feel like if we're going to cover the ear with the hair, we can't just have it disappear behind there and come down here, because then the hair that comes down over the eye has to come from somewhere. So I feel like this is a sort of, if the hair that came from this part of the fringe is tucked in there, then we kind of have this division line here where the hair that's not from that part of the fringe comes over it. So it's like this gets tucked behind, and the hair that's over this side doesn't then get tucked. Sort of thing. So that would get tucked behind the ear, and we can have some of that nice dimensionality that I mentioned, because we can have the hair come out here and then tuck behind the ear there. See, that works. And then we can have this come down here and be long hair. So, I don't know why I drew that whole goddamn ear. Although it did give me a nice anchor for where the hair should go for this part. So, let's think about it. The hair that comes from this part of the fringe is going to be all of that. So we have this part of the hair coming down here. We have that part of the hair going up there, because that's essentially that way, and then this comes over. Does that come over, or does this come from... Where the hell is this hair actually parted? Maybe there's just kind of a split, and at one point it just starts going over there instead of behind there. So this sort of starts to bow in this way. If it's growing from the parting here and it's going like that, and then at one point it just starts to come... Yeah, that makes a lot more sense. See, one thing that I didn't like about this picture when I did it the first time is that the first time I did this face, thinking about it, just because the parting's there doesn't mean that has to end there. This will actually come over here because the parting will go further up. Thinking about it, the dimensionality of it it'll come out from behind. Yes, it will. That is correct. I am correct about that. So we don't need that line either. Or that one for that matter. So the lines that we're going to draw, we basically have all the hair. That will be an actual line where the hair sort of changes directions. And my own hair, when it's kind of at shoulder length, it gets this sort of slight curl at the bottom. It sort of flips up where it touches my shoulders. So I'd like to replicate that a little bit. Do I want to strengthen the chin even more there? Or do I want to... I feel like I want to do more with this mouth. Yesterday I kind of left it to the last minute to do something with the mouth, and as a result what I did was I added that, which I thought was a nice feltrum, but actually it looked like this totally random, just a J on the face, like a Joker tattoo or something. So let's think about it. If we were going to do the whole 3D eyes lip thing, would this actually touch the side of the face? Oh no, that looks bad. That looks real bad, because we've not actually given any kind of sense of jaw there. So this is the center. Okay, this is what I've gone wrong. This is where I've gone wrong. So we can have a little bit of... Can we have a bit of shape to that, or do we not want shape to that? I don't think we want shape to that. I think we just want this to come straight down. The mouth, if it's going to have that... I mentioned yesterday you sort of have a mouth that will come like almost like a cat mouth, like that, but then you have this extra little peak, so the shape that you get is sort of like that. You have this extra, and it sort of comes out like so. If we were going to do more lines on the mouth, what we would need is something here to define that lip. I'm not gonna draw all these lines in a strong way. What I am going to do is use it to shape out how this should kind of look. that would come and do a sort of a fuller lip like that. So this part you would probably see. Like I said, that this might not look so great today, and I'll tell you why. It's because I've been having these odd sort of odd kind of almost like tingles in my arm, if that's a way to describe it. I think it's just because it's a bit cold in here and I'm not wearing sleeves. But it does make me feel sometimes like I'm slightly lacking grip strength in this hand. And I have wondered if maybe it's because I have, unbeknownst to myself, obtained some kind of degenerative neuro condition from attempting to draw and breaking my brain. And the end result of that is that these pictures will actually get worse every single day until the point when, I don't know, I collapse or something. So I have the brows there, eye there. Yeah, I think we're ready to ink this. I think we're ready to go and make some choices for lines. Which, yeah, okay. It's funny, I look at it on the paper and it looks okay, and I look down at the little camera image and it doesn't look okay when I look at it in the camera, which is very strange. But let's make good on some of these promises. Where do we want to start? I want to do an odd one today, and I'm going to start with the mouth, because I feel like I don't want to forget what my intention was with that part of the lip. I also want to try and capture this and this properly. Oh, it looks bad again. It looks bad again. I've done it again. Maybe the only way to solve this is to literally turn that into a full lip. And take it. You know what? I'm going to do that. I'm actually going to solve this by turning it into a full lip. I know the first one didn't have it, and it's meant to be a reproduction of the first one. But I think that's the only way that I'm going to actually fix this in any kind of meaningful way. Right. So here's a thing that I didn't really do before, which is that if I'm supposed to be defining this as a more feminine character, I need to go for all the stereotypes I can muster, and that includes eyelashes. So I'm actually going to break one of my rules. I'm going to rotate the paper so I can do a nice arc, because I just draw arcs more easily in these directions. There we go. Just a few lines, just to sort of define it more. Not necessarily. Oh, I've done more now. I've got to do some more on the side as well. Just to kind of give it a little definition, I think. I think that will help. And then we give it the full. See, I'm looking at that and I'm seeing like the iris touching the side of the and like that feels wrong to me. That feels like there should be more eye here. And yet you do see eyes with the eye, like if you see it in. Can I turn my head in such a way that the iris would be like an outer contour surface? It must be possible. It must happen to someone. Yeah, I'm gonna accept that is a thing that happens to real people all the time. I'm gonna go for those cartoon eyes we know and love, just because it feels like the only bit of these images that I'm actually getting right is this odd type of shading that I learned to do on eyes. Even if it's not actually right, and I'm going to have to break this later, I'm going to have to get over it and sort of improve away from it. So if I imagine a line that comes from this parting and over and down here, then the change in hair direction happens around this position. I'm going to take this down here, like so. This parting will come to here-ish. This one will come to here. Yeah. I feel better about that hair than I did before. I'm now looking at this and thinking cheekbone. I know I didn't do a cheekbone on the pencil sketch, but I'm looking at it, I'm thinking cheekbone is needed here. Something is needed here to make this less linear. Yeah, I'm going to go for it. I'm going to go for a slight cheekbone there. And then as this comes down here to the under of the chin. It looks a little flirty, but I think I can work with it. I think I can handle that. It does look bad, though. I will completely admit that it does look bad. So I feel like some of this should maybe hang out. Oh yeah, because I already have this here as the sort of the way the hair will come out this way. Eesh, this is bad. This is really like the head looks too tall now. Adding this extra bit of chin has made the head look too tall. It feels like there's simultaneously too much to it and not enough to it. And I don't know how to fix it. Just keep adding detail to try and draw the eye away from whatever the hell is going on there. I'm going to do that thing again where I give myself a little extra bit of eyelid there. Now, in the original one, of course, I did this shiny hair effect, which I'm not even sure if you can call it an effect, but it worked. So I'm going to do the same thing again. I'm going to bring these strokes up here. I'm going to try and plan it out a little bit more this time, though, because these strokes have to essentially merge in with that. Haha! See what I'm doing here? Because we're going to have these strokes come here as well. And hopefully the sort of the directionality of this. I say that word a lot, don't I? That direction will go there, and this one will come here. So what we have is these lines kind of merging with those to the point where some of these now come to there, and I want some extra. I've not put a lot of thought into where the light is actually coming from in this image, but I feel like I need to have a shiny spot like here and here, and possibly an extra one down near the bottom there. Or maybe what that actually needs is a darker area. Could I do that? Could I add extra darkness into this? Just realised this is pointing too far down. And these strokes probably feel, to the unattuned eye, to be too sporadic, not planned out. There's no intention behind them. And if you think that, you're completely correct. I have no idea what I'm doing here. But it feels like, to me at least, it feels like it's going to turn into something good. It's going to add something to this image which will save it. It may, in fact, not add anything to this image that saves it. But it feels good while I'm doing it, and they say that these things should feel good when you're doing them. After all, if it doesn't feel good, why are you doing it? Why are you doing it? Why am I doing this? Why am I doing this? Like, this whole endeavour is to get better at art, but I might not be getting better at art. I might be getting worse. I might be actually cementing bad habits because I decided to start with a week of essentially seeing my own atrocities before I actually went on to do anything even half decent. I think when I start doing photographic images, or in fact maybe even before I start doing images from photos, I should do some hair studies. I said I looked at nose studies and now I can draw this. I feel like I should do some hair studies. A little extra shadow there, that kind of adds something to it, I think. So I'm going to rotate the canvas once more to get some extra darkness just right up against that parting. I feel like the parting needs extra darkness to it. Because we're going to have the same thing coming out this way. And what this will do is allow us to sort of create a bit more of a... Maybe that's not terrible. I don't know, I feel like I'm reaching the end of this now. And I feel like I have not done well. It seems not great. I feel like we need a little bit of chin here. But I don't want to... As soon as the pen touches the paper, that's it, it's doomed. This is one of those things that, like, you hear about... You see artists say that if they're drawing on like a graphics tablet, they'll do a thing where they'll flip the canvas to left or right, and suddenly an image that did look immaculate will look awful because like the bias of their eyes for what it was will be all wrong. But then I feel like if I could flip this image, it might not look as bad the other way around. Maybe like I'm actually drawing the bad version of it. Like when they draw, I need more shade on it here actually. It's like when they draw things and the art looks really good and they flip it and then it doesn't look so good. Maybe what I need is to draw something that doesn't look so good and then flip it and then suddenly it'll look okay. Because science and stuff. One thing that I did add, this hair looks way too shiny and glossy. I just realised one thing I added which really elevated, the image that I did before, was I added a few stray hairs here and there, just sort of coming away from the few stray hairs that would just kind of follow the line but kind of break away. Well, maybe not that much. Just to give it a kind of... I'll just come out and say it to make it look slightly scruffier because that's me. I'm scruffy. And they always say that there's this thing in art where things can look too perfect. And if it looks too perfect, then it doesn't look as good. So that now looks less perfect. I feel actually if I tilt it to look directly at the camera rather than being like it's been in perspective this whole time, that could be why it looks so much worse on the camera. It's because you're seeing it in perspective, not in kind of a flat view, and it is a fisheye lens as well, which can distort it as it gets closer. Of course, I always end these things with a final image of what it looks like done. So maybe when I add a final image of what it looks like done, it will look great. I should look up whether artists get tingles in like their arms or whatever to see if it's because I'm holding the pen wrong or something, because I'm here thinking that, like, you know, I'm having a stroke or something. I'm constantly doing this thing where, I don't know if you can see in the mirror there, I'm constantly doing this thing where I sort of check the strength of my facial muscle to make sure that I'm not about to collapse. Also, it helps that I'm constantly talking, because I like to think that I would notice if my speech started to slur. And for anyone who is just casually watching this because you saw it come up on my Twitter and you don't know that much about me, I do actually have like heart problems and circulation problems and things, and I have had what was it called, a transient ischemic no, it wasn't that. It was something that was like, it felt like a stroke, but it was shorter than a stroke. It only lasted for a few seconds. It wasn't a transient ischemic attack. It was something hypoxia. Basically, I ended up with low oxygen saturation, because that's one of the. Add a little bit more shade on this bit of hair, because just realizing, because this disappears behind here, it should be a lot darker where it disappears. Once I've finished this, I'm going to set things editing and rendering on the computer, and then I'm going to watch season 2 of The Boys, or at least start watching it, because it's September 4th, and this is not the only thing that I'm doing right now. I'm also watching a lot of television. Maybe if I spent more time doing art and less time watching television, the art would be better. Yeah. But it would be good to know if like this is, because I know a lot of my art friends in the past, they've had what's that condition called? Not carpal tunnel, repetitive strain injury. And I'm doing things like up, because normally I would do things down on a table, but I'm doing this upright on this clipboard, because I guess I hate myself and my posture. But maybe it would, maybe, you know, that's what's causing the weird sensations that I have in my arm and my wrist and my hand. And maybe it's nothing at all to do with all the other medical things that plague me. Cool, so we'll be back tomorrow for a profile view of Septemberk 1. And I'll see you then.